That's what he was trying to emanate there. So
I think overdoing the dabs there a little bit.
Yeah,
quite
possibly.
Really
That's
going
happened
all
a
out
lot.
with those.
Well, it looks like we are jumping straight into pick and bans. Now, guys, of course, I'll let you guys kind of take this away and talk us through this. But is there anything you're really expecting to be involved in this meta?
Oh, well, the Kalista,
Yeah,
the
these
Corky
two
bans there, yeah, that's what we've been talking about. And the Camille ban actually coming out as well.
yeah, we're talking a lot about Camille, and we know that Artorias plays it a lot, and it can also be flexed to Prospera as well. So I'm not surprised to see it banned. In honesty, we are playing on patch 7.18, so there have been a few changes.
Yep.
Potentially tanks not quite as dominant. Ardent Sensor still useful, but not as necessarily as good early game. But I don't think we're expecting it to change the draft too much.
No, most teams will probably stay with what's comfortable and with what they've been playing throughout the entire split on 7.17. I mean, it is in a bit of an awkward situation where the meta is currently shifting, so people are sort of deviating away from the safe tanks and the safe Ardent supports into more aggressive picks. But I don't know if we're going to see that today. It'll be very exciting if we do.
I mean, how much pressure do you, focus do you think teams are putting onto Rakan at this point? Because he's left open, we've been talking about it. Both supports like playing it.
Yeah, we've been talking about this. Super solid support. I've even gotten a chance to speak to Orcs, actually, because I was certain that Morgana is actually a very good pick into the Rakan. And I don't know why teams are prioritizing Rakan so much when Morgana is open on the tables, but since the Rakan engage is just so quick and Morgana Black Shield is only available on one target, it just doesn't matter, honestly. The Rakan engage is so powerful, and you see the Xayah getting taken away by nerdRage there, denying that Rakan Xayah super combo in the bot lane.
You see teams doing this a lot, right? Where if one team takes Rakan, you have to take Xayah. You can't let the combo go through. I'm not too surprised either to see Artorias pick up the Shen this early. Like he first rotate top lane so often. I'm wondering, originally I thought it was because his champion pool was potentially weak and they don't want it to be abused sort of in the second draft phase. But Shen works quite nicely here, I think, as well, just as a safe top lane.
Yep. Jarvan and Tristana picked up by exceL next. Nothing too surprising. Very comfortable champions for Inax and Taxa. We've seen them play it and succeed with it a lot throughout the split. So, yeah, the draft's going pretty...
Can that Jarvan flex top and jungle here, do you think? Or is the jungle changes made it so you don't really...
No, it's definitely possible. Jarvan's, yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm not sure how much Shikari plays of Jarvan top. We've mostly seen him play stuff like Maokai and other tanks throughout the season. But it's very much possible. Yeah, you never know. You always have to keep in the back of your head that Jarvan is a possibility of going top lane, and that could be a surprise. And that's something that nerdRage is going to have to keep in mind.
Something I've just noticed here, though, is we've got a lot of mid lane bans already, and only nerdRage have taken the Ori there, so they can now pump 2 bans into mids.
Yeah.
It does actually threaten Krumel's champion pool quite a lot at this point.
Yeah,
that's a Victor ban there.
Talon Victor, there's his top.
And well, LeBlanc, Corki have been taken away from the other side, right? Could be pretty tough here. I don't know where Krumel is going to
is left. Not really sure how comfortable he is on the Cassiopeia.
Should nerfed a tiny bit, right, on this patch, but still playable.
Yeah, still playable, but a tiny nerf to on 7.18. Okay.
Well, the thing is, so exceL here are looking to try and exploit the sort of jungle / support, because they've obviously taken their jungler and their support, whereas nerdRage have a much easier time just banning out mids. They can then either take jungle or support, whichever one, they prioritize the least, whichever one gives the least away. Are there any junglers here that you think, you really want to go for, or would you save that for after support?
I think Gragas would definitely be the safest pick right now, if I was nerdRage. Probably the Gragas.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else I would go for particularly, no. The Braum actually gets picked up, saving jungle for last pick. I'm wondering if this is
like a
flex pick Shen.
Yeah, just for this, right?
Because I know how much nerdRage love their flex picks, and Billy does tend to play more, Nutri does tend to play more unorthodox jungle champions. We've seen him play the jungle rumble throughout the split. So maybe it could be a surprise. Oh, there it is. They're doing it. But I remember we spoke about this yesterday. exceL love that Super Siege Tristana Ziggs combo.
Yeah.
It's when they get the 3 item spikes on those 2 carries, the Siege is just disgusting. The Tristana bomb onto the tower gets it to half health. The Ziggs satchel comes out, just completely kills the tower in 3 seconds.
And their entire comp works well for this, right? I mean, the Jarvan even has the flag for the buff. You have sort of dive potential. Rakan is quite useful for disengage if you have to as well. So their entire comp almost situates this perfectly. Yeah, very flexible team composition here, actually. I don't know. I mean, just thinking, nerdRage might have to commit to a team fight jungler here to try and find a way to break the siege. Maybe like the Gragas that you mentioned.
I think the Gragas would... Oh, they're doing it. They're actually doing it. I was so excited to see a jungle Ezreal coming out here, and they're actually doing it. Okay.
Now, I don't really understand this pick, in honesty, and you have 47 seconds.
Well, it's a very heavy cheese pick, right? So it's going to focus on taking red buff or blue buff level 1 and then invading Jarvan's jungle immediately. And he has to find Jarvan in the jungle, and he has to get a kill on him, or maybe cheese mid-level 2. But it's constant action, this jungle ezreal. You're going to see him farming very, very rarely, and he has to get a snowball going and accelerate the game as much as he can. And if he fails to do so, nutri is going to struggle very much on this jungle ezreal pick.
Now, of course, the coach is very influential in a pick and ban phase. The exceL coach, struggle to remember his name.
Ferndog.
Thank you very much. I remember seeing him last season being of really big importance when it comes to pick and ban. Very hyped about his own pick and ban process. He is a very confident man. Do you think that he is very important when it comes to pick and bans, having a coach like that behind you? Do you think that maybe that could be a swing for exceL by having someone like that stood with you?
Definitely. I mean, a coach is usually there to sort of help players decide what they want to be playing, so they have to work around what best suits the team and what best suits the win conditions, but also staying within the comfort zone of the player's choice of champions. And you know, Shikari and Inax, for example, very comfortable Gnar and Tristana players, and Gnar works as a very solid split push and a very solid engage, and you can have the, you know, the good old Narvan combo where, you know, the EQ Cataclysm of the Jarvan into the Gnar ult is very solid with the Tristana siege. It rounds off the team very well.
So predictions-wise then, you've seen the pick and bans, you know what's going to happen. Now, Will, I'll start with you. How do you see this series going?
So unless nutri's cheese on ezreal is, you know, incredible, I think exceL should take this game. Just their draft is incredibly fantastic at what they do. It's very clear.
I agree.
And prediction for you think it's going to be a comfortable victory as well?
It should be. It depends how the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game goes. If the 5 to 10 minutes of the game go in the nerdRage favor, they might be able to close it out very early. But if the game drags on to about 30, 40 minutes, when Ziggs and Tristana get their 3-item power spikes, they're going to struggle for the nerdRage team.
All right, well, it looks like we are getting into game number 1. So best of luck to both teams. Let's kick off this semi-final.
Stan Gaskin, game number 1 here. ezreal jungle coming out for the first time, and
wow.
I think the Des were a little bit confused, and I think we're a little bit confused as well. But nutri plays that one coming up against Taxa, who's on his J4 now. How's that really going to work out for him?
It's been something that's been seen a lot in solo queue recently. You see it in streams all the time, ezreal jungle here and there. But obviously, exactly as the desk said, it's a pick that can go so incredibly well or a pick that can go so incredibly badly. It needs to start that snowball process. You need to get that cheese pick off. You need to get your cheese ganks off early on. You need to get some cheese invades off. It kind of gets towards the mid game, and if you're ahead, it can look to sort of snowball out of control because there's a lot of damage, a lot of range damage.
Potential from exceL is huge.
A lot of what exceL have got to do is survive that laning phase. They need to be able to just keep that laning phase stable. You want to get towards those item spikes that make Ziggs and Tristana so powerful. It is that ability to have that 3 items stacked up for yourselves. And obviously ezreal's designed to do everything but that. ezreal's designed to get those laning phases in their favor. Something that nutri is very, very good at. nutri can snowball things quite quickly. And exactly as Serge said, going to start off on that red buff, going to look to be as aggressive as possible. He'll take this red buff pretty quickly.
Starting the red, no smite for it just yet. Taxa going for a very early invade. Took his own red, going towards nutri's blue buff now.
Taxa aggressive, but will be spotted out by a ward. So nutri will know that this is taking place. Going to blast coming over.
The red buff from ezreal level 1 is very dangerous to catch. Flash from Taxa. There comes the Grand Entrance straight onto Hedge, although flash from Orcs as well to get out of there alive. Almost got stunned up by Prosfair. Winter's Bite only on the 3rd stack. Taxa blowing flash there early on. Getting forced out of nutri's jungle is going to be a big win for nerdRage.
And Orcs burning flash too. Makes him a very easy target for Prosfair to try and search down, especially with the fact that, you know, both nutri and Hedge are going to be very, very good at targeting those concussive blows and getting them to stack up very quickly onto the targets in the bot lane. Especially from range as well. They don't even need to commit in terms of distance to be able to sort of lock Orcs down. So bot lane's going to have to be even more careful now. And Inax and exceL are the 2 key points of the exceL composition. They are the 2 that need to do well. They are the 2 that don't want to get behind. And, you know, it's actually good that, you know, exceL even escaped that situation because, as Scudzy said, and we're going to keep referring to Scudzy a lot during this, but as Scudzy said, you know, you want to, as ezreal, start an early cheese. You want to get the enemy jungler down, and that was very close to Taxa being caught off guard, and a good response by Orcs kept him in the game.
nutri now stealing away some of Taxa's jungle as well, adding insult to injury. with double buffs and level 3. Maybe looking for an appearance in mid here. Creamel has both summoners, but very far pushed up as Ziggs is. Kakan's just going to find him. Satchel charge over the wall. He's going low. He'll use Kakan. Still has both summons available. Creamel's going to flash, but he's on the wrong side of the jungle in no man's land right now, trying to get those Raptors out of there. Those bombs are going to hurt. He's trying to just outlive the timer. Kakan with a flash forward, the final basic attack, and that'll be first blood going over to Kakan.
Did burn Oriana's flash, which was the only positive out of that, but a really good path by newtri there. Again, small amount of lack of vision coming out from exceL just means that obviously ezreal can exploit vision areas. He can get around your usual ward spots into these unique jungle path entrances. But that was just a really nicely placed gank by newtri, catching and overextended by Creamel off guard, who was obviously pushing in this Oriana pretty early on. Like I said, the silver lining for exceL is they burnt Kakan's flash, which now makes him vulnerable to a Jarvan gank if that is something that Tax is going to find on his list as he moves to the jungle.
Well, the problem with newtri doesn't have CC at all. He needs red buff for even to just apply a slow, so he has to rely on his laners to set up these ganks for him, unless they're overextended like Creamel was. But in a Ziggs lane coming up against Oriana, that's where you want to be. You want to be pushing up to Oriana's tower, getting the damage down early. It's very easy for Ziggs to clear waves, but now Kakan has got Lost Chapters on board versus this Dark Seal and a couple of potions. She's now going to be the one pushing in this Ziggs.
And it's something that you talked about. Kakan popped off the last time he played Creamel. He got a massive CS advantage in his favor, put a lot of pressure onto the exceL roster in general on that Cassiopeia. And Creamel got behind, and we've talked about the important people to watch out for in this exceL roster, especially in terms of compositional relevance. Creamel is one of them.
Man, that sucks. Artorias gets his back cancelled by Shikari. Went in for another one, but does get turret hit, so he does have to back off here. Now going the very aggressive build, Doran's Blade to start off with, already occurring quite a big CS lead over the Shen, although you could imagine so. That Spirit's Refuge only blocking a few basic attacks before it runs out, and it's on a fairly long cooldown early on. Creamel receiving yet another gank, however, newtri's not going to be able to find him with the CC. Kakan, though, it's a lot of damage traded forwards there. And Creamel already struggling in this lane. 3 potions burned for him already. And Kakan really starting to take over. No massive CS lead just yet, but the priority is definitely shifted in his favor.
I'm very much liking the way that newtri is approaching this, knowing that Ziggs is now going to be a sore point for exceL. He's not someone who spikes super early on, so if you can put him behind in the early game, you're only going to make it harder and harder for him to scale up, especially versus an Oriana who starts to become dominant from this point forward in the lane. Once you get that ability to just clear the lane with the Lost Chapter, you've got the mana regen to be able to use that dissonance over and over again. This is the point where it's going to be very difficult for Creamel to even get into range to farm in some instances if, you know, Kakan is being that aggressive. So I really like that basically newtri trying to salt the wound a little bit on the exceL roster. Not being able to get a huge amount out of it, but you can see he's returning once more.
Again and again and again, Creamel's not having an inch of space in this lane. Ooh, nice sidestep. Level 6 over Kakan. Shockwave is going to get used. No summoners on the Ziggs. He's just going to go down. There's the Stand United, just in case Taxa wanted to play any funny business. Another kill for Kakan. This is looking all too reminiscent of their Week 6 performance.
Yeah, and they're already now all just going to collapse in onto this mid lane tier 1. Try and put as much pressure down onto it as possible. You have the attack speed buff with the ezreal. Obviously, ezreal having the basic attacks too, which means they're going to start to chunk through it pretty quickly, and you can see Tax is just unable to commit. They shouldn't get too much work done here, and Shikari's putting a good amount of pressure in the top lane to force Artorias to return. But again, that sore point for exceL becoming even worse as that CS lead is only just opening up a little bit, but nonetheless, Ziggs is an easy champion to exploit, and that's what nerdRage are doing right now.
He hasn't even got Lost Chapters on board, only could afford the Amp Tome, so in a dire situation right now. Wasn't even level 6, so couldn't even use the Mega Inferno bomb to pick up a couple of CS on his way back to the lane. Now they do have an out, and you did mention it, Inax and Creamel. They've got such amazing turret taking potential. The Satchel does execute turrets, and then you have the bomb from the Tristana as well. And you can already see, actually, Inax, regardless of Creamel's lane, how he's going. He's securing quite a CS lead in that bottom lane. And in fact, Shikari doing the same thing on Artorias in the top side. Yes, Creamel's losing right now, but maybe they just use him as a turret-taking machine and then rely on Inax and Shikari to carry the damage in the mid game.
Once Creamel's level 6, he can play a bit more safely with that Mega Inferno bomb. He can just, you know, clear waves, stand back, not try to get too close to Oriana. The fact that the exceL's other lanes are winning naturally without any influence from Taxa whatsoever is definitely beneficial. Will talked about, or Frozen Dawn talked about, Inax being a standout performer when you need someone to step up and carry. So Inax is going to have that potential. He's already ahead in lane, actually.
Inax maybe in a lot of trouble here. Does use the ult to push Hedge back, however. If he got caught up in those feathers, it might have spelled his doom. Orcs has got his flash back up, but no quickness. Would have meant doom for Inax, realistically. Now, Rakan has been changed this patch. The quickness is, its width has been decreased, and its cooldown, I believe, has been increased a little bit. No, sorry, decreased.
Yeah, so basically they compensated for a width decrease by giving him a cooldown decrease as well. So you use it more often, but it also is a little bit more narrow-paced, and you have to be a bit more accurate with your use of it. Wait a second.
Oh, Artorias, maybe in a little bit of trouble. Shikari just popping out of Meganar. Did use the ult, I believe, to just slam him into the wall, but Artorias, you can already see, getting punished under this tower. Had to actually pick up Ninja Tabai's first item to prevent a little bit of that damage coming out from Shikari. And now the wackiest Gnar build I've seen of late is this Black Cleaver with Runads, by the way.
I have seen that,
with
yeah.
Frozen Mallet. Can be extremely annoying. Only if you're quite ahead in this top lane, you can actually go for something like that. But realistically, Shikari, I don't think he's going to do that.
I think we'll see a more classic Gnar build, Black Cleaver into Frozen Mallet. That is the way to punish a range advantage for Gnar in this lane. Nutri now making his way up, but will walk straight over a control ward. Shikari very well protected in terms of his vision up there in the top lane. It looks like we're going to get an early swap coming on. Inax and Orcs, they want to try and put pressure on this lane. Artorias is low. Maybe they are looking to take this first turret very quickly. A very heads-up play here from exceL as Taxa looks to, again, also move up. I've got to say, nerdRage have responded very well, though. They are now going to swap in accordance.
That they have, but exceL, they've already got a lot of damage down to this turret, and Prosper is only just arriving. Nutri using the ult to wave clear, coming in with a little bit of damage onto Inax as well. So good use of the ult by Nutri, just to clear some of that wave. Rakan rotating, but Taxa is over the other side of the wall. Krimel's here too. Another deadly combo we haven't actually talked about. The Cataclysm straight into the Mega Inferno bomb.
Yep, absolutely.
So a lot of burst damage, and Ziggs does pretty well when he can hit multiple targets at once with his abilities.
A side effect of this lane swap, by the way, is it's reduced the pace of the early game here for nerdRage. nerdRage would have really loved to use those two mid lane ganks and snowballed pretty heavily from them. But by making this swap, it's drawn Nutri to the top lane. Nutri's now kind of been stuck about what to do. He's been farming for a little bit and so on and so forth. And exceL have managed to reduce the pace of the game so that now actually exeL hasn't become a focus because these lane swaps have drawn the attention of the junglers away from the mid lane, which was that sore spot for exceL. And you can see that the CS is not wildly rocketed into Kakan's favor. He's keeping up on moderate terms.
And that's actually what we said. We said Nutri has to have an early impact, and nerdRage, if they do manage to get an early kill in the jungle, or if Nutri has a significant impact in pressuring and pushing the other jungler down so he's almost useless, then nerdRage tend to win those games. They tend to be ahead at the 15 to 20 minute mark. But right now, that's not happening. We are only seeing Shikari and Inax. I mean, even Shikari now, I'm just looking at the CS numbers with the CS lead. And now Ziggs is just kind of climbing back up. He's now 86 to 93. Shikari actually happened to use the hop away over the minion, is Meganar, and does have the turret, so Artorias can't really find anything, and did have the TP.
He's got the TP too, so even if he was forced back, he'd be able to get back in. Look at this though. Taxa knows he's on the opposite side of the map, and Mega clears coming out for the nerdRage bot lane. They need to clear that wave so they're not a tower dive threat. The Mega Inferno Bomb, also a great way to supplement a tower dive, obviously across map.
That's exactly. Oh dear, the satchel charge straight into the shockwave. Does send him flying, but flying the wrong way, so actually forced a flash. That was very close. exeL almost going down yet again to Kakan. Now acquiring, again, not a massive CS lead, but still prominent in the mid. However, those 2 kills are going to facilitate him quite well, picking up the early Sork shoes. And we spoke about Nutri's impact in the early game not being as big if he doesn't have CC to couple with his damaging abilities when he comes into a lane.
It looks like exeL are in a rat race against their side lanes, against their mid lane, because the mid lane nerdRage, they are stacking up for that first turret of the game. It's very, very close to going down. The pressure is there for Kakan. Wait a second.
Mega Inferno Bomb. Bomb does miss, sidestepping from Kakan, fancy footwork. Does manage to get out, but doesn't force any summoners here, so exeL not really getting too much of that off of that. However, Mega Inferno Bomb, a fairly short cooldown at this point in the game, especially when you've got a bit of cooldown in your kit in a minute, which you can imagine exeL will want to go back for soon.
Yeah, exeL now probably sitting on a decent amount of gold. Probably going to time his back in conjunction with Kakan, so there's a way he can get back into the lane, clear waves again, and make sure he protects that first turret. But it's been a very slow-paced game, and that's going to favor exeL. There was a little bit of that early boon coming out for the nerdRage roster. But again, exeL's side lane pressure has tapered that down. The only pressure they were getting was in the mid lane. And one thing that Ziggs does do well is even behind will clear waves. He'll always be able to clear waves. All of his abilities, in some way or shape or form, clear waves in a safe manner. So he was always going to be able to do that, and they haven't got the advantages I think they would have wanted from that first 10 minutes in the game. And Scudsy talked about how that first 10 minutes with ezreal jungle is just that important that you really need to pay attention to it.
My memory jumps back to Season 3 when it was Ziggs pretty much only in the mid lane.
Yeah.
You just wave clear, wave clear, wave clear, wave clear. This is before he had the execute on his satchel charge on the turrets as well. And now we're looking at it again. Orianna versus the Ziggs, an old-timey matchup that's been around for an absolute, what seems like an age.
Since the dawn of time.
Exactly. Nutri, by the way, has picked up Challenging Smite instead of the warding trinket. So what did want to, and you can see just in his build alone, has gone for Warriors, of course, that he wanted to try and fight early, that he wanted to be able to challenge Taxa to these 1v1 duels in the jungle, but just hasn't had the time to do it with these early lane swaps like you mentioned.
Taxa's done the right thing, though, Jaws. He's just farmed. He's out-farmed Nutri, and he said, okay, well, not much is happening on the map. The best way for me to sort of keep my pace and keep my relevance as a jungler is just continue to farm up. And 74 farm at 14 minutes isn't bad. You know, he's not doing half bad for a jungler, taking things on rotation. They are very, very conscious that they want to push this top lane tier 1. That seems to be where they're heading. It is pretty low.
You can imagine this is going to go down. Hedge desperately trying to wave clear. They're going to be able to do it. Nutri once again using that true shot barrage to clear that wave in the top side. Another massive benefit
of the ezreal
for Nutri in that ezreal pick. Yeah, absolutely. Being able to clear those waves from across the map. Speaking of clearing waves, exceL does exactly the same thing. Mega Inferno Bomb and the satchel charge being used to clear up some of those minions. And we did speak about the turret taker potential, but the team fight potential from exceL as well is just absolutely superb. And that's where they want to get to.
Exactly. They want to get to the sieging potential. They also want to get to that sort of ability to find those team fights and skirmishes. They use that combo, like you said, the Cataclysm into Mega Inferno Bomb. Good late game scaling carries, very, very hard damage to avoid. Ziggs in the late game is a nuisance because those bombs cause you to sidestep all over the place, and it's very difficult to avoid them over and over again. Got to give credit to nerdRage where it's due, though. They have managed to keep the CS advantages very slim in exceL's favor. They've kept up. They've even sort of closed the gap in some instances, being that bot lane, Hedge has managed to keep up and sort of keep pace with Inax, even though Inax looked like he was pulling ahead early on. And they've also prevented that first turret from going down. So they have been really, really steadfast. Wait a second.
There comes the Blade Caller. Orcs went in for a grand entrance, but couldn't really find anything. They don't have the damage advantage, really. Neither does Shikari, when that Spirit's Refuge does go down from Artorias.
Really needs the Black Cleaver before he gets that advantage in this lane.
Yeah, and he has the Fade. He's got the Kindle Gem as well, so he's very, very close to doing so. Mountain Drake, the first Drake up, by the way. So both teams not really finding the opportunity to do that. And it's just like exceL, they're putting more pressure on just taking that first tier turret first, and then swapping their top laners up to then farm in those long lanes.
exceL have to be very conscious about this mid lane. Mega Inferno Bomb not up, and you can see exceL is really having a tough time of it versus Kakan. No one there to back him up, but he'll be able to clear the wave just a bit. But one or two more waves, maybe with Nutri in tow, and that will be the first turret of the game going over to exceL. And you can see they're remedying that by sending their bot lane mid.
Taxa might be in trouble. Challenging Smite comes out. A lot of damage from Kakan. Lag drag away though, so he's fairly safe in that lane. Rocket jump forward though. Kakan uses that heal just to get a little bit of speed boost. Inax now just pressuring this mid lane. This is the turret taking duo that they want to be in. They want to make sure exceL and Inax have that time on that turret in order to siege it first. They recognize Kakan's probably going to take that turret in the next wave or two, like you mentioned. He has got a whole item above exceL as well, or a tier 3 item right now. He's got that Morella Nemicon versus just the Codex and the Lost Chapters.
Artorias doing a really good job of just preventing Shikari from pushing onto this turret, even though Shikari's got all of that lane pressure. And actually now Inax and Orcs have swapped to that mid lane. They know how important it is to protect that mid lane tier 1. They're actually going to put exceL in the top lane here.
He's going to kill it. He will kill this turret. Satchel charge will execute it. They're just scurrying right now, Hedge and Prosphere up towards that top side. They need to be able to do something, but exceL, there it is. There's the indicator. First turret goes down to exceL.
Really good play from exceL.
Really nice rotation from him, and that will be a first turret to them as well. So now, this is where the map starts to open up for exceL.
That's the power of Ziggs. Like you said, that turret executing potential has the ability, when marking it, the satchel charge will finish the job. And exceL's rotation there was fantastic. They knew that one more wave, one or two more waves, and that would have been mid lane tier 1 going down, first Tower Blood to nerdRage. They took their bot lane, really good clear with that Tristana, into that mid lane to help prevent that. and then send exceL to the top lane, where obviously they'd already done a little bit of work onto that turret previously. Really, really heads-up play by exceL.
Now nerdRage hanging around the jungle of exceL. exceL's going to have to be very, very careful here. He does have challenging smites and red buff on him. exceL is going to have to be extremely careful. He does have satchel charge. He does trade up a lot of damage as well. Storm Raider Surge, by the way, taken by nerdRage. So it's quite an interesting summoner spell choice. However, ezreal is very good at chunking people quite quickly, especially with something like a challenging smite. So we'll get the proc more often than not. Provides a little bit more mobility when you're in the 1v1 duels. nerdRage's
vision control in general has been much better than exceL's. You can see exceL very limited in terms of their vision on their own jungle right now. They're going to lose this mid lane tier 1. That was a good unified push by nerdRage against something they could easily brute force down. And half done by the fact that nerdRage forced exceL back to base. So that was a good move by nerdRage. Caught exceL out, looking to move towards the top lane. Tax is going to get caught out here as well.
Oh, in exercise against it though, there's going to be a flash grand entrance from the Quakeness. That was a flash away from nerdRage after he did Arcane Shift, and Artorias does use that Shockwave as well. The Shockwave means Stand United. Speaking of that Shockwave, Kakan is going to find exceL. Taxrax has to flash away. Mega Inferno Mob is going to get used. He's going to get exhausted. Nice flash away, but the auto attack will still follow him through. That'll be a kill actually for nerdRage as well, as he didn't manage to pick up Tax off the back of that. I believe True Shot Bros took it. nerdRage with 2 kills. Find the Dragon as well. It looks like they're going to head all towards the mid lane.
Important Dragon for exceL to want to prioritize with their turret-taking potential. Any damage to neutral structures and minions will be a benefit for them. They do trade a tower for it though, so exceL don't get nothing, but it was a good move by nerdRage and somehow also allowed nerdRage to pick off Taxa. I'm going to say Kakan has been the standout for me here for nerdRage so far. nerdRage set him up in the early game really, really well, but Kakan has been able to capitalize. Good use of the shockwaves, great use of this Orianna in general. Been very, very impressed with Kakan. Someone who has been criticized for having a poor champion pool in the past has really stepped it up over the last few games that I've seen of him, personally. He's having a great performance here. exceL will have to be worried about that. The CS lead has very much opened up in favor of Kakan now. 30 CS in his favor.
Everybody kind of touted him as a Talia, professional Talia player. But that is exceL. I mean, exceL is that professional Talia player. I got confused. I'm still pretty tired at Scoundrel. Come on.
Kakan, exceL, they're both good with K.
That is very true. I mean, I was just thinking back to the bans, like who banned it, and I was like, Kakan. Oh, they just banned it away from their own champion, own player. That makes a lot of sense.
No, you banned Talia against exceL because he's a very, very good Talia player.
Shara taking a little bit of damage here, a little bit worse for wear. However, Mega Knight is coming up very, very soon. They're in the 1v1 right now. There's the Mega Knight actually just going to shove him back. We are seeing a rotation from Prosphere as well. Glacial Fissure and Flash are available. Artorias does have Flash if he wants to go for a Flash Taunt. True Shot Barrage and the Winter's Bite will end up missing. So we'll be able to get out of there. It's pretty much scot-free. exceL mirrored that aggression up in the top side, but yet again can't find anything. Actually, I do believe they actually just blew Hedge's Flash and Featherstorm.
Yeah, so they burned the ultimate and the Flash there. Hedge going to be a little bit vulnerable for the time being. But things are now returning to an even playing field. nerdRage has a very slim gold advantage. The longer this goes, though, the more that you would favor the scaling composition. There is good scaling on nerdRage, though. Let's not be, or beat around the bush. We've got Kakan, who scales very, very well. We've got nerdRage on ezreal, who is a very, very good scaling carry in his own right. And you've got Hedge as well, good scaler. And nerdRage's picked up the Dustblade.
Second night. I mean, dipping in and out of bushes a lot.
Yeah.
So we will get the proc time and time again. It did get hot fixed on one of the patches because it dealt a ludicrous amount of damage, although it still feels like it does that. Playing against one the other day, and they just, that's all they did. Dip in and out of the bush time and time again, just hit me with 200 damage, 200 damage. I'm like, how is this fair? What? Yeah, it's still a pretty good item, and it scales with his level as well. And as he's getting solo experience in that jungle, he's going to be out-leveling the AD carry. So he will be able to kind of dual enact at this point in the game, especially with his challenging smite. So that's something you've got to kind of think about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. nerdRage, with the mobility of ezreal, you can make really great use of this Dustblade. And I think that's something that we'll be looking to see if he can do.
Does like a little bit of a problem.
exceL again, maybe having the issue here.
Yeah.
Something that we saw previously, he was having a small issue with his PC. We did get the PC swapped out. We'll have to see if that will be necessary again. But pauses coming through again. This wouldn't be UK eSports without some pauses down the line. But it's been a slow game so far. There's a little bit of that explosive action in the early game. We've had a couple of bits of small skirmishes around those neutral objectives like the Dragon. But exceL, in general, have out-rotated, but nerdRage have been out-team-fighting right now. And again, with an Orianna, you have a very good team fight composition. You've got ways to deliver that Orianna ball with the Shen. That's about it, though. You've only got the Shen to deliver that Orianna ball, so the rest of it will likely be on Orianna's own positioning of the ball. But we've got to say kakan has been playing incredibly well so far.
I mean, there he has. Not at the same performance he had against exceL previously. And exceL, I think, obviously they're having a much better game. At 25 minutes in their Week 6 game versus nerdRage, they were 3 inhibs down. I mean, that is a stomping.
Oh yeah, they really, really struggled in that particular game against nerdRage. This time round, though, exceL seemed to have steadied the ship a little bit. They are still struggling with early game jungle, something that, you know, a lot of people said coming into this, Taxa was the best jungler coming into this tournament, and there's a lot of pressure on him. He had a pressure on him at the UK Masters final, and he didn't quite perform the way he would have wanted to. nutri definitely got the jump on Taxa early on here, and Taxa has been farming, but struggling to impact the map. Maybe that's not his prime goal, though. I mean, maybe Taxa's prime goal was not to impact the map a huge amount in the early game. His goal was going to be later on to provide that support for this mega siege composition that exceL have put together. But exceL need to get to that point to be able to make that siege composition come online. They need to get to 3-item Tristana. They need to get to 3-item Zig before you can get like a ridiculous tower-taking push that we know that composition can achieve. And you can see nerdRage are doing everything in their power to try and bring exceL into teamfight and skirmish situations before that, try and catch them out individually. nutri's doing a really good job of that and has been throughout this game so far. It's definitely still heads up who could take this, but nerdRage definitely looking like they have the momentum.
They've got to keep that momentum up. That's where they seem to excel. Haha.
Wow, it's not like anyone has ever used that joke in the history of UK eSports.
nerdRage need to excel. That's what I meant, not exceL need to excel, but you are.
But exceL's in this game, George. You are such a clever guy.
Clever caster. That's what they call me. Clever caster.
Never heard anyone use that to describe you.
Never. I just made it up on the spot. We are in a brief pause, ladies and gentlemen, so bear with us, please, as we just take shots at the beautiful trophy that one of these teams will be walking away with. M&M versus Singularity later on today as well.
Absolutely.
So the winner of this game will face the winner of that in the grand finals later on today. Can get a small replay. Hedge in the top side. This one he blew Flash and Featherstorm, I believe.
Featherstorm. Oh, that was a nice Featherstorm.
Yeah, nice Featherstorm and the Flash. Does root up Cremo as well. So that's how he did escape, but did lose the Flash, which is going to be fairly important. Featherstorm, not so much. On a very short cooldown. He has got the Essence Reaver. Did pick up that first item. So he's not going to be too worried, but the Flash is going to be of utmost importance, especially when you come against someone like a Gnar, J4, and obviously the Ziggs as well.
You can see the trophy there, the ESL Premiership.
How bling does that look, by the way?
Beautiful. I think the Premiership trophies are always really nice because they look like proper trophies, don't they? You know,
yes, they are.
They, you know, they're like almost like the Premier League trophies. You know, big, hefty things you can hoist at the end of the tournament when you've won.
Did you put orange juice in them? I was going to say like champagne or something, but
we are PR friendly. We are child-friendly stream.
It's child-friendly stream.
Orange juice.
Orange juice.
Orange juice in the cups.
And lemonade.
Oh, couldn't think of a better drink.
Exactly. We are back into game. Here we go. exceL and nerdRage. Still, like you said, nerdRage with the tempo advantage, but Gold Lead really hasn't swung in their favour whatsoever. Have got 4 kills under their belt, but it's mainly just down to the CS lead. And you can see Artorias right now hemorrhaging 40 CS, but at the moment he just needs to be that frontline tank, and he's doing just that by picking up that Bramble Vest.
Bramble Vest, and he can now clear waves with the Titanic Hydra, which is very important because, you know, Shikari in general has had that push advantage throughout the entire game against Artorias so far. But now that Artorias has picked up the Bramble Vest, now that he's picked up the Titanic Hydra, he'll be able to clear waves, and the Bramble Vest will give him some ability to trade back without even having to trade back, you know, against Shikari specifically. exceL now 1.5 items on Tristana, 1.5 items on Ziggs, working towards the Luden's Echo here, so a bit more aggressive than the build path that you see coming out from kakan. kakan's built a Banshee's Veil, which again is very important against the likes of Ziggs because it's obviously good to block 1 or 2, you know, 1 or 2 bombs here or there, but it's going to limit the fact that he is ahead, and it's not really going to give him huge damage output compared to what he maybe could have built with that golden otherwise. So he's taking a more defensive-orientated build path, but maybe limiting the amount of damage output that he's going to have, given how far ahead he is of his opposition. 50 CS at this point in time now. kakan having a great game.
I'm curious to see if Krumel actually goes for this Lich Bane as well. Aether Wisp also builds into the Lich Bane, although obviously with that needlessly large rod, like you said, it probably is going to be Luden's Echo. It's just so much damage with the passive, Ziggs passive as well. It's the mini Lich Bane in itself.
If it's Lich Bane, we're going to see a 1-3-1. We're going to see Shikari in the side lane. Kremel's just going to be taking towers.
It's pretty disgusting damage. That's disgusting damage though. That's where it's going very low. Shikari just chasing him out, not afraid to trade up. But that Bramble Vest is helping. It's starting to kind of swing of the trades in his favor when he has Spirit's Refuge down, but right now Shikari just bullying him time and time again, something that we know and love the Gnar for, building towards the Frozen Mallet when he can get his hands on it. But what do exceL do right now? They are a turret down.
Oh,
turret
Shikari!
Oh, hang on a second. Naganar into the wall, nice taunt away, turret still checking a chunk with Shikari, can't really find out what to do, throws a house towards him, but doesn't end up hitting him. Artorias dodging out of that one, didn't even blow flash in that engagement, but Shikari might be in a little bit of trouble. Nutri is coming down, but Shikari's more the wise. Just get excited as well and run away. Does leave a lot of time for exceL to just punish that mid-turret.
Yeah, you picked up on the point there exactly. The more and more Shikari can do this in the side lane, the more and more he brings Nutri to Artorias' lane, the less pressure exceL is taking on the map, the less pressure that nerdRage is applying on the map, and it allows exceL to recover in terms of their ability to farm, their ability to put pressure on these global objectives.
Look at Inax's damage as well. He's really just pumping through these minion waves now. They really want to just crack this first tier turret, just make it even in that mid lane. nerdRage only taken one turret, but they have got that Mountain Drake for that later game damage. And you did say, exceL, they're going to profit from that a lot more than nerdRage are. Frozen Mallet now completed from Shikari, so
It's a bit push online.
this is, yep, this is all doom and gloom now for Artorias.
Yeah, and Artorias is, you know, not sitting on a huge amount of HP right now. A little bit of armor to back him up, but you just can't trade into a Black Cleaver, Frozen Mallet. Nah, he will chase you down, and I think you can see Artorias is very, very aware of that at this point. It's going to demand some sort of pressure from nerdRage eventually. If Shikari plays the lane like he has been playing so far, that might mess with nerdRage's plans. They might need to look to make a move a little bit earlier on than they would have liked. Just Taxa, that damage from Duskblade is just...
It's pretty gross.
It is.
That's one way to put it. Gascade to have that nice vow. Has been nerfed, like you mentioned a little bit earlier, but still pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Inax is going to benefit from that a lot when he does actually use it on him. And with Inax now hitting that 3-item power spike very, very soon with that Zeal, again, nerdRage, they're going to have to respond, because if they leave exceL 1 minute on these turrets, they will take them just with ease. And the amount of wave clear they've got there as well, as you could just see, is very, very worrying.
Just Kakan has now been put into that side lane to deal and push in against exceL, the matchup that he'd been searching for the entire time. And again, exceL, you can see, is very defensive about the way he's approaching this. Nutri up in that top lane too, and I think this will be a tower seceded by exceL if that's going to be the case, is it doesn't look like they're able to take too many advantages elsewhere.
One thing Luden's Echo does as well, the proc actually gets rid of the Banshees.
Yeah.
So something else to kind of keep in mind, that Luden's Echo, another smart pickup for him, just getting away that Banshees, making sure he can just pound some extra damage down on Kakan, and Banshees will be very, very key in this match, especially against someone like Shikari as well. If he does get Mega Darted into the wall, he'll just walk away scot-free, but if it's already been popped, it's going to be kind of useless, that passive not being really there for them. exceL now, they are starting up this Dragon, it's going to be a Cloud, so I can't imagine nerdRage are going to respond with anything meaningful here.
They need Orianna really to fight these kind of objectives, and with Orianna being pulled to a side lane where exceL is just looking to push, that's actually advantageous in a way for exceL, despite the fact that nerdRage got the turret. Any team fight scenario without Orianna is going to result in a poor team fight scenario for nerdRage in general. So you can see they're looking to put an advantage down here, looking to put pressure down.
Also the battle dance though, onto next. Whoa, flash and shockwave comes from Kakan, also takes a fair bit of damage, just use the grand entrance to get away. Stan United came from Artorias, but he's actually taking a beating up in the top wave. Shikari once again just showing him who's boss. In fact, flash from Artorias, flash from Shikari. There we go, dives the turret, gets the kill. That's one on the board now for exceL.
That is that lane, and we often talk about Shikari's power and presence in this exceL roster. He's going to back off because he doesn't know exactly where this nerdRage roster is.
Nutri maybe in a little bit of trouble. Cataclysm is going to use just the dash to get out of the way. Thunderlords from Tax is going to go off, but Nutri more than safe. High and dry in that Baron pit. Not anymore, as they did start the Baron up. Actually forced a flash there. Not something he wanted to do.
So Shikari now looking to accelerate this lead, and the more and more he pressures this lane with Artorias without flash now, he's also managed to get him out of that Stand United. The more and more that nerdRage are going to suffer for it. Here we go.
In fact, exceL just starting on the Baron here. Shikari teleporting in on that wall. Kakan is here. Shockwave is available. exceL have got a lot of zone. Teleport coming as well. There's the Shockwave straight onto Tax. It gets instantly deleted. No defensive spells. No problem. Orcs with a lot of trouble. But over the wall, Inax picks up the kill straight onto Nutri and actually forced a flash here. Krumau has no manner to his name. He's going to be able to kill out Prosper regardless. Hedge very, very careful. Has to back off. Orcs going in though with the massive charm. It's 3 people. Double kill for Krumel, getting the mana back from the Morella Nebacon. Finds another Artorias on the run. This is going to be an ace for exceL. They turn this Baron fight right around.
That is the power of a Shikari who is ahead and Krumel who is untouched on the back line. If we can see that again, I'm hoping we will be able to, but unbelievable. The playmaking potential of Shikari and Orcs, and I always praise Orcs for having stepped up as a playmaker specifically for exceL. He went straight back in, found an incredible quickness, locked everything up and allowed exceL to capitalize, but every single member of exceL made a play in some way, shape or form in that fight. Inax, the play he made himself, I think he got Nutri on the outside of that fight. He then got the reset, jump back over, and actually because he was out of position, that forced Hedge to try and chase after him, but you don't chase after someone with Zig's zoning potential, blocking your path. So much damage from that Ludens and Minefield came down onto Hedge. It was a really well-placed Mega Inferno Bomb too, and that's when Orcs found his opportunity to jump in with the quickness. It was just a symphony of individual plays that tied together for a really fantastic team fight. Got to give credit to nerdRage. It was a good move to make that play happen. Obviously, Orianna was there with her shockwave. She was in the prime position to stop that Baron fight, but a little bit overextended from nerdRage, not quite respecting that damage output of both Inax and Shikari.
It looked all too good for nerdRage as soon as Taxa fell, but Ziggs is starting to come online. He has that Sheen now. He has got the Dark Seal even with 6 stacks on it. He's going towards that Lich Bane. It's going to be all too worrying for nerdRage now. They need to be able to just defend, but it's very hard to defend against a Ziggs and a Tristana with Shikari zoning and Taxa threatening the engage as well.
These turrets are going to flop right now, and they could even move to a 1-3-1 with Ziggs just clearing waves, Shikari just finding that matchup versus Artorias. I think this is the replay that we're going to take a look at here. It was a very aggressive Baron move. I was almost considering it a potential mistake here for exceL, but nerdRage were all there and ready to go. Nutri was very low on the outside. Obviously, we saw Taxa go down immediately, so that, you know, immediately that's nerdRage saying we've got a man advantage, but massive, massive credit for Inax finding that kill on the outside. Hedge jumps over, and look at Kremel's damage with this minefield. Hedge takes an absolute beating from it. Half HP in one combo. Shikari's buying time for his team on the sidelines. Really well-placed Mega Inferno Bomb, and this is where Orcs found his opportunity. Charm, quickness, straight in there, and that's where they clean up.
Shikari had Meganar as well. And in that tight corridor, that's not where you want to fight.
Well, no,
funnily enough.
You can't blame nerdRage because they had a man advantage. So when you have a man advantage, you force fights, right? But just some individual brilliance from exceL brought that back. Specifically Inax, specifically Krumel even in a way, playing you know, an incredibly placed set of abilities just to find the opportunity to actually force it into a man advantage for exceL. Really well played individually, which resulted in that team fight unit. 2
turrets now going down for exceL. They take 1 turret, they're going to take them all. Lich Bane finished, here we go, Kremel's come online. This is going to be the issue now for nerdRage. We said they're an early macro game team. They want to get ahead early on. And they did. They had 4 kills in the early game, but the problem was they couldn't respond because Taxa wasn't really going anything for too aggressive. Nutri couldn't get any counter ganks off. And he just let Krumel farm, let Shikari bully Artorias in the top lane. Inax now with 3 items under his belt. This is the Tristana now who will shred turrets regardless if you got your mid laner there. They're rushing down bottom lane now with Shikari looking to go towards mid. nerdRage, they need to respond, and they need to respond fast.
It's 3 item Inax, but it's 3 item on Krumel as well. You've got a 3 item Ziggs and a 3 item Tristana. This was the break point that we were looking for from the exceL composition. How do you even fight against this?
You can't.
Ridiculous amount. The turret destruction, there's the execute. Kremel's satchel charge managing to find yet another turret in exceL's favor. And you talked about the early game advantages that nerdRage had. It wasn't enough. They ganked lane twice, they got a couple of kills in the small skirmish around Dragon, but you need to turn that into something. That needs to be early pressure on a turret, that needs to be tower dives, that needs to be consistent pressure on the enemy. Taxa was ahead in farm of Nutri. Nutri was not looking to use the advantages that he'd gained in the early game at all, and Taxa was just not pressured. Orcs and Inax were not pressured. Shikari was absolutely not pressured. They only put pressure on Krumel, and he barely felt it, bar than a 30 CS lead that was over to Kakan, and nothing else. He managed to easily find his way back into this game.
They painted the picture perfectly on the desk and said, you know, exceL, maybe they've got this live buff. Maybe they come into it and they go, okay, so we're going to step up now. They haven't won against any of the teams that are here. nerdRage, Singularity, exceL, they've all fallen. They've fallen to all 3 of those teams. And they've kind of struggled against them as well. It's not like it's been, you know, kind of even coming into the mid and then just pushing through, and then yeah, you lose one team fight, you take a bad Baron, you back off, and you end up losing the game. They've just struggled. They've consistently beating lower tier teams time and time again, but coming up against nerdRage, exceL, and M&M and Singularity, they have been come off worse for wear, but right now, they are really showing nerdRage who's boss. Shikari chasing down Artorias. This was going to be it. Gnar ultimately into the wall. Does get the stun up as well. Artorias is very tanky. Does have Thornmail. Borks is going to be here as well. Does get the taunt on to Artorias, but it's going to be safe underneath his turret. But it does leave Inax and Krumel a lot of time now to just chunk down this mid inhibitor turret.
This is the risky pick of the ezreal, though, because if I were going back to this draft and I had the choice of my jungler at the end of the day, I'd say, okay, ezreal is this cheese pick who accelerates the early game, goes out of control by just being very hard to deal with from range. You know, he can kite, he can get aggressive, all that kind of stuff. Where's the actual synergy with this nerdRage composition, though, apart from early game pressure? And that's a lot of damage coming out. It's just incredible damage from ezreal's Q, obviously. I know your face, half HP almost on Inax, but where's the synergy for nerdRage? Like, who is the synergy with Orianna? Where is that synergy with Orianna? Like, Shen, kind of. The taunt is a short-range dash. You know, you had the opportunity for a Gragas to deliver that. You had the opportunity for a jungler that could deliver the Orianna, but with a bit more vigor. But they didn't take it. And this is a very risky draft for me from nerdRage. And the analysts talked about it. You need to accelerate the early game. It's a solo queue pick because an ezreal thrives on chaos. An ezreal thrives on uncoordinated, you know, lanes, uncoordinated jungle. That's why it has so much success in solo queue. But against coordinated teams, it's a little bit harder to pull that off.
Yeah, well, Taxa did it perfectly. Just said, okay, I'm not going to fight you. I know you're going to win these trades. You can't impact the lanes like I can. I'm just going to sit back and farm. You've got no CC. If you come into a lane, you're going to have to rely on your laners to set you up to help you get the kill or help the laner get the kill. Gragas, like you said, wasn't even banned by either team. So Nutri could have taken the Gragas. Could even take someone like a Nidalee. Prospet's caught out in a little bit of a sticky situation. Krumel, that damage is insane. Does flash over the wall. Glacial Fissure as well is going to hit too. Is it going to stop Inax or the Mega Inferno bomb? He gets the reset over the wall again. Baron's up in 5 seconds. What a perfectly timed kill.
exceL knew what they were doing. They were waiting for somebody to come by. They are going to get stood on top of a ward here. That's a ward that Prospect put down, so nobody from nerdRage is going to make the same mistake, and it will be very obvious that they have now started up that Baron. Wait a second. That's an insane amount of damage from just a single Q. Unbelievable amount of damage.
Ooh, Trinity Force, Warriors, and Dustblade. Oh boy. Welcome to ezreal jungle, baby.
Pretty ridiculous, and exceL from that one Q are now going to have to be forced off starting this Baron. nerdRage maybe looking just for pure late game damage power output. You've got that late game power of the ezreal. He's got a pretty solid, as you can see in these later stages of the game, got a pretty solid damage output with just his Q. Kakan obviously also got his late game prowess in his own right, as Orcs just being a little bit aggressive here in the enemy jungle, just trying to get some sort of read on where the rest of nerdRage are.
The issue is for nerdRage that exceL can actually two-man this Baron. You put Taxa with Inax there, he's got the Knight's Vow, he's just chunking away, no problem. It'll be very easy for them just to solo it. Two-man it, sorry, not solo. That would be insane. But the nerdRage need to be able to respond with that. Nutri's got the poke potential, yes, like you said, but right now they are on the wrong side of the field. Being on this red side is going to be a little bit more tough for them to actually influence, especially with the amount of zoning potential exceL do have. And now Inax. He's picking up what looks like he's got Lord Dominic's Regard, looking into maybe Mercurial Scimitar here, just to prevent some of that CC.
Definitely a potential. exceL will not want to fight in the Baron area though, personally, because you just have an Orianna. Orianna is the queen of Baron control. She can obviously, when sieging an enemy team doing Baron, a well-placed Shockwave, it's a lot easier to hit Shockwaves when the enemy is all grouped up around a specific area like the Baron pit. So they will always be very conscious about trying to take Orianna on here. Shikari again, maybe being a little bit nervous about the fact that Artorias went for a taunt there. Can't see everybody on the map right now for nerdRage, so Shikari's not going to want to commit to that.
Still getting bullied out, but has got the Warmogs now. So he's got Thornmail online, he's got the Warmogs, so he's going to be able to survive.
Max percentage damage, he doesn't care about the Warmogs as much.
Absolutely not. I care about pauses though. It's a bit unfortunate. We're going to another pause, but hopefully, again, should be resolved fairly quickly like the last one was. State of the game, boys. exceL, I want to say it's a surprise. that they drafted the Ziggs, but it's been working out exceptionally well for them. It's got Leandries as well, so going to be able to chunk through those turrets even quicker.
I remember talking to Scudsy, beforehand. He said if anyone's going to bring out some weird picks, especially on this new meta, 718, the world's meta, if anyone's going to bring out some new picks, it's going to be exceL. They're the kind of team that will do this. They're the kind of team that will prepare specific picks. They're the kind of team that will come away with them and practice them for a tournament setting. Obviously, we got surprised by nerdRage picking up this Ezreal. It's something that we've seen a little bit on the solo queue patch, but in general, exceL's Ziggs has been one of the more surprising picks of this game. nerdRage has brought something out that we've seen and not been super surprised by in solo queue because people have played it in solo queue quite often, but
Dustblade is just a fun item to play against.
it is a fun item.
That has been my experience anyway. Ziggs is pretty fun too. His bomb's starting to really pack a punch. Going to go for Death Cat last item, you can imagine. That's when he truly one-shots people. Okay, that's disgusting damage as well. Flag and drag in, Taxa. Being very aggressive. So yeah, apparently Inax can chunk nerdRage to half his HP as well. Like for like, 2-3-2.
Like for like, that's fine. Slow process for exceL here. Just trying to grind away. Try and find that matchup with Artorias and Shikari if they can. But everything else has turned a little bit... they would have wanted to start this siege tower machine on these inhibitor turrets, but they haven't had the opportunity. The wave clear is starting to ramp up for nerdRage. Kakan able to clear waves very quickly now. Crossfair takes a lot of damage. Leandries now there, by the way, for Kremel, so that's going to allow him to kind of shred through that front line of Artorias and also Crossfair, the brothers of this team.
Two brothers.
And a Mexican armada.
A giant cat's attack. I can't remember the rest.
That's when it got kicked into 12th gear.
And the moon crashes in to Earth.
Oh, okay.
And the two brothers in a van.
That's how interesting this game has got. Let's be honest, though.
The dragon
has just been taken by exceL. And like you said, it was the duo, Taxa and Inax. Knight's Vow allowing them to take that by themselves.
Cloud Drake. Woo! That's getting hyped up. Oh boy, moving even quicker when you're out of combat. Only have one Cloud Drake, which kind of feels bad.
The true damage that the Elder Drake provides, though, so that's always good.
Very true.
Hey, look at Kremel. He's going fast.
Woo. Oh, he is going fast. He's got Luzen's Echo and Lich Bane.
Is that Sonic?
489 movement speed on his Ziggs. Look how fast he's going. I know his little legs can move that fast. That's actually
542
insane.
now.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
oh it's because he's walking up behind Elixir of Iron.
Yes,
oh,
very true.
Jesus. Cool movement speed, bro.
exceL want to set up for this Baron. Again, they do have to be careful about approaching this whilst in full vision of nerdRage. They're going to try and go for a duo of it once more. The ward will come over for nerdRage, so they know this is taking place. Again, exceL have to be very careful about how they approach this. They do have an Orianna on the enemy team. She's got great Baron control with that ball and shockwave, so exceL again will have to be very careful.
Mega Inferno bomb chunking all about there. Shikari, 3-man Gnar ultimate shockwave onto 2, but Kakan hasn't got enough damage to finish anybody off. Inax does reset after reset. Artorias didn't see that one coming. Wonders where the rest of his team have disappeared to. What was that, Shikari? Triple kill for the Gnar. They're just going to take the base as well. exceL don't need no Baron. They don't need no man. They're just going to take game number 1.
They're going to push straight down mid lane here, Jaws. What an incredible, incredible team fight. Again, every cylinder from exceL firing right there. The teleport comes through, Jaws.
Oh boy, one turret falls, the next one to follow. Those turrets didn't stand a chance either. Baron or not, exceL life buff comes through. nerdRage fall in game number 1.
Wonderful drafting from exceL.